New York City is the greatest city in the world. Culturally rich, ethnically diverse, it is a true melting pot where traditions and trends are created. People move here from all over the world to follow their dreams. From the tip of Staten Island to the top of the Bronx and everywhere in between, you will find entrepreneurs on every street corner. These are their New York stories.
Hi, I'm Warren Brand. I'm the president of M&S Schmalberg. We like to call ourselves CustomFabricFlowers.com. My customers call me the Flower Man. And this is my New York story.
So, Warren, when I walked in the door, you liked my reaction, which was, wow. I mean, it's not only special and beautiful, but it just felt so different and unique. And you shared with me that you were the only folks left in the country still making flowers by hand.
Correct.
That's a huge achievement. And Adam, you've recently come in as the fourth generation.
Yep.
And you're going to be celebrating your 100th anniversary next year.
February next year.
But the way that this business started and how you guys came to it, I find very moving. So can you share with us just a bit about the history of?
Well, the history that I know, the facts that I know is the name of our company is M&S Schmalberg, and the M&S comes from a Morris and Sam, who was great uncles of mine and my father's uncles. And Morris and Sam, two brothers, that started this business in 1916. It always gets me because I tell the story a lot, but Dad's a Holocaust survivor, and he, lost his family, his two brothers, his sister, his mom and dad in the camps, and in ways that I can't state facts, but I know that, the rumors, the fact is they were all perished in the wars and the Holocaust.
He's the only one that survived out of the entire family.
Exactly. So we've been back to Poland. I was back there twice. Adam was there once, and we went back with my dad one time, and we went back to his town, and we saw the temple that he used to go to as a kid, and I went back since then, and I saw his name and the family name written in books from the 1800s. So it's all facts, and the family name hasn't changed. So he survived that, and he comes to America, and he learns the family business.
But he was alive and found by an American soldier.
Right.
And was able to say, this is a family name.
Right.
And the soldier helped.
So my father's mother was a Schmalberg. Our last name is B-R-A-N-D, Brand. And this American soldier somehow latched on to my dad and contacted the Schmalbergs in New York, not knowing anything about business, just that there was a Schmalberg family in New York. It's not a common name. There were not many of them.
No.
So they did that, and the Morris and Sam knew of my father because it was family, it was close, and they were, so treasuring the fact that there was somebody left, somebody survived. So they did what they had to get the paperwork done, and my dad came over by boat and lived in their attic in Forest Hills and came to this business and grew up young. He was about 18.
And so when he came over, Morris and Sam had to start working in the business and doing odds and ends, and just kept going and going until they retired?
They retired and passed on. And they had other children that didn't take interest to the business, so there was my dad and the surviving spouses of Morris and Sam. So my father worked it out and bought the business from them.
And was it always here in the Garment District?
It was always a garment center business. It was always, it was a different world then. Where
were you located at that point?
In the distance that I know back, we were on 35th Street, right around the block on a street-level store. And next door to us was a zipper man, and on the right was a thread shop, and there was a sewing machine shop, and more of the same throughout the few blocks of the garment center.
The quintessential kind of old, walk the street and basically build a dress or build whatever you needed to do.
The push carts, the trucks, the factories, all right here, cutting rooms.
What's your first memory of coming here?
To work. Well, it's funny, I remember, when my father, I was a kid, we can't pronounce things, so they would say, let's go downtown. Mm-hmm. And I would say, let's go town. So I had to be pretty little. Oh, we're going town.
Yeah.
So that was it. They'd throw me in the car and I would go town. Just as I remember Adam and my daughter Carly, we used to have a box, like the boxes you saw me with flowers.
Yeah.
They were little. We let them nap in the box.
In the box?
In the box. We put a box, put some fabric in it, and rest the kids in the box. He doesn't remember that, but there's pictures of it.
What's your first memory?
My first memory as a kid, I remember my mom pulling up right in front of the building, and there were so many push carts going back and forth with so much activity that it was like too much for me, and I was scared to walk to the door. And he compares that to now. There's nothing going on down there. There's just regular people.
It's just
totally
changed.
different.
It's changed a lot. In a short period of time. I mean, you're 20.
And I do remember the boxes.
You do remember the boxes. Yeah, no, they're beautiful. So you guys have been through the highs and lows of business, but you've survived each and every time. Through your dad, through you, Adam. What is that? I mean, how do you guys do this? I mean that because it's really hard. You said you're the last one. Lots of people have gone out of business. And is it, a reinvention of the business? You mentioned you're doing kids' birthday parties. I mean, as a way of filling a gap. You have tremendous responsibility. You have employees that have been with you for many, many years. But I think there's also something else, like a secret sauce of some sort. No, I mean that there's, I don't know. I mean, you tell me, why do you think you've been able to survive?
I think a lot of I have to give Dad credit. Big time, I have to give my father credit. He instilled something in us. I mean, we've had some great years. And during those great years, And did you save through those great years? We saved. I try to find the balance in life, and I try to install the balance in life with my kids. Because my father was the extreme. He saved, and for that reason, that's part of why we're here. Because in some really rough times, he helped, and we put some good money into a tough time business, which some people think that's good and bad. So far, it's always been the right move. And now we just try to keep our mind open and look at what's available to us, because in the world of internet and things, we are selling from theater, like the gentleman who just left. I told you Susie Behringer, Woody Allen's costumer. So
are you expanding in that regard? I mean, where you had been primarily lots of fashion that you talked about, and now you're looking at different markets online. How is that playing in your business?
The business has changed over whether it's the last 10 years or so. It used to be my dad says, in the old days, you could go to 1400 Broadway, put on a nice shirt, start at the top, and you could sell everybody in the building, whether they'll buy it or not. They were all relevant. And the world is totally different now. There's such big business online. Since I've been here, the website, I updated the website, social media has become so big. So while we still get those orders occasionally from the J. Crews and the Vera Wangs, a large part of our business has been these small designers, or an individual person getting married, or just somebody going out who wants to wear a flower for the night, who finds us online and buys just 1 or 2 flowers.
So Adam, as the 4th generation, bringing you into the 100th year, and you talked about social media and technology and updating, what do you see as the vision for sustaining the health of the company?
Well, I was thinking before, while you guys were here, there was a gentleman that came up before from, I don't remember what show he said, but a local theater, and he had never heard of us before, and he was amazed.
How did he hear of you?
A colleague recommended, and he was amazed by what we do, and he was so happy to be up here. And as my dad's already explained, we hear that, and it frustrates us.
Right.
To me, this business, we mentioned the Australian Ballet before. While that plane is flying to Australia, how many ballets does it pass?
Right.
People that would love to know about us. So we got to get the word out to those people. The large production orders, they'll come here and there, but what's going to sustain us is stuff like that, specialty work, stuff that can't be done in China.
I would love you just to share with me how the business works.
Sure.
These right here. So these were at some point commissioned by someone, and you then thought this could be a good seller, and so you created some inventory on it? Or how does that?
These happen to be camellias, these particular flowers, and camellias and Chanel are like one word. So they're very trendy. They vary quite often. They're just basically showing you size and color.
Now, how long would it take to create something like this?
Well, I'll show you the whole process.
Okay, I would love that.
So this is where we do the first step, where we starch the fabric.
Okay.
So the customer gives us the fabric. It's soft like we know fabric to be. And I cut it into panels that fit on the frames. So then we take a starch, it's nothing more than a starch, which is a stiffener.
Okay.
And we squeeze the fabric out and stretch it out on the frames.
How old are these frames? These are
Well, these
classic.
I remade probably in the 80s. Nothing's really changed so far. Those tools are the same, the framing's the same, and these machines you'll see are pretty much the same. Just watch your step.
These are from like your dad and
These are
uncle?
older than, again, these are quite old. So the way it works is there's a veiner
These are heavy.
and there's a cutter. It has a knife, they're like a cookie cutter. You got that?
Yep, got it.
And this is a veiner, sort of like a waffle iron.
Okay.
So you take the fabric and you cut it with the cookie cutter, and then you put the petal, and with heat and pressure, it takes all the detail of this. And I'll show you something made out of this,
Oh, I'd love to
you know,
see
on
it.
the way out. So whether we're working with a 4-pour, we call them 4 pours, P-O-O-R, or a 6-pour, and whether it's rounded or pointy, it doesn't affect the price of the work. I'll use this 4-pour for now.
Okay.
So I'm going to take this and we put it on this big boy cutting machine here. And I raise and lower this depending on the height of the tool, because you can see some of them are higher than others. And whether it's a little guy or a big guy,
take
it's basically the same work. So now you adjust the height.
Now it looks like you're just literally tapping it, but it's very...
Yeah, this comes down with like 2 tons of pressure. The reason is you have 2 hands here so you can't crush your fingers. So this is simple, but I always tell students that come here, they can take fabric, starch it, and cut it with a scissor and get that kind of same
Look at
thing.
the precision of that.
But that's precise, but what I love about our business is the next step, because this you really could stiffen goods with starch and cut it with a scissor if you had the time and patience.
But it's the
But
also
here,
the perfection of it.
yeah, I mean here there's no waste, and you can see this is like the negative, like you saw the one of Vera.
You really try to maximize all of your product.
That's what we do next. Now under here there's a gas burner like you have typically at home. In the old days this is what it consisted of, 10s and 20 of these machines in hot, non-air conditioned factories. So before I mentioned to you that this business is very infinite, and it is, and I'll show you why right now. So I have to be very careful here not to touch these things, because these things are
Well, you can see the
waffle
heat.
iron hot, like, you know, you heard that.
Hot, yeah.
So, and a little pressure, that flat
That is it.
pedal now has life to it. So depending how you want to use it, if you want to use it this way or turn it over and use it that way, would depend on where the face is.
My name is Michael Josephs. I'm the founder of Metalworks, Inc. in Bronx, New York. We are custom manufacturers of stainless steel and bronze furniture. And this is my New York story.
So, as entrepreneurs, you see lots of different businesses, you interact with different businesses. We were saying you do piecemeal work as well as completed items. What makes a good entrepreneur? I mean, if you think deep down inside and you think about how, whether or not your metal business, your food business, whatever business you're in, what do you think kind of the core foundation elements are for someone to be successful?
I want to say, I think you have to be a risk taker. It's a calculated risk. It's not just a risk that you haven't thought through, but you have to be willing to really put yourself on the line, take a risk. If it doesn't work out, brush yourself off, start again.
Okay, Michael?
I think you have to be sort of thick-skinned, and you have to be driven. You have to want to make it happen, and I have sort of blinders on. I mean, I've had, many people over the years tell me that you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way, you shouldn't do this, and I just,
What do
I
they
have a
say?
gut.
You can't do what?
Even down to my father. When I said I wanted to do this, he says, you cannot make any money welding and grinding. He told me that. He said, you can't do that. I mean, that's all I do,
Right.
and
Right.
I've had a lot of people say you can't do it this way, you can't only service that, or whatever it is, and that's okay. I mean, everybody can say what they want, but I mean, I sort of go with my gut. From my
Trust your
industry,
gut.
from my thing, I know what we can do, what we're capable of, what I can ask of my men, and I just, I'm unflappable. I just know what, I mean, it doesn't always work, but I mean, basically, I just do what I think is right.
One of the things I wanted to ask both of you is, as a husband and wife team, you're working together, you're raising a family together, do you have, or have you had kind of an understanding, or did you ever talk about, let's not talk about work when we get home, or
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have actually said that.
what is your rule of
If
thumb?
something happens at the office, it stays at the office.
How do you do
and
that?
when he comes home,
It sounds
I
good,
say,
but-
hi, honey. I think we do a good job.
We do a pretty good job. Sometimes it's,
Can you really
unavoidable.
turn it off?
Well,
I mean, some people can. I just,
Yeah,
You know
pretty,
what?
pretty much we do. That's just
if
how
you
it
had
is.
a really horrendous day or something went wrong or it was euphoric, you're able to kind of walk in the door and say, okay, now we're mom and dad kind of thing?
Pretty much.
And
We try to anyway.
I love working with Michael and helping him. And this is our family business, and this is our life together. And every day is an adventure.
But there has to have been tough times, right?
Yes, sure.
So what was the toughest element and kind of how'd you get through it? Ever worry about making payroll?
Oh yeah, that's almost always. We have a lot of guys, and there's no, home office funding us. If we don't make it this week, we don't have it next week, kind of a
Right.
thing. And okay, but that's part of the package, and we lived through it. And we went through some tough times in 2007, 2008. I mean, we had plenty of work, but our clients didn't have the money to pay for it, so that was very
So your
challenging.
receivables. That's
We had-
actually an
yeah.
interesting issue.
And in that time, I would say 7 or 8 years ago, I made a total decision that I'm never going to owe out any money. We're never
Debt-free.
Debt-free.
So
We're
that's
gonna
your
just-
philosophy,
That's it. I pay for
100%.
everything, up front.
So when you're investing-
that I lease. But I mean, I don't owe
But you
any.
leased it, but you don't.
Yeah, I don't owe any vendors, and we basically said we're not going to work for anybody who doesn't pay, up front. We had a lot of people that we were financing, and we got rid of several, probably our top 3 or 4 accounts. I just said I'm done. I don't want to do this kind of work anymore. If we parted friends, I said I can't work like this. I can't work for no money or promise of money. It's just too stressful.
But as you look back, when you think about, that data point and that crossroads, there was also another crossroads, which was kind of your big break in a way, where you were talking about the bender. There was one.
When I first started in business, I always believed that you should have the right equipment and whatnot. And I bought my first press brake, which was a very big item, very expensive item at the time. But I was, it was a big part of the business.
Did you save for it? I mean, did you know that you had to secure this in order to be able to grow your business?
I had a little bit of money and I financed it, and I just knew that I had to do it. It was not a giant amount of money back then, but it was a risk, and it paid off. And then that was a small, probably 25 years ago, I was the first small manufacturer to get a laser. I got one of the first lasers that was out there. That was scary, but I just knew that was going to be the way it goes.
When we were talking before, Michael was saying that, I said, do you think you'll outgrow this? Are you outgrowing this? And you said, no, this is exactly where, I feel we need to be. And yet, there's always clearly change and innovation. Do you have kind of a vision of what you want to do next, or how you want to maybe be a part of the business in a different way? I don't know. Or is it you love what you're doing and you're happy?
I'm very happy doing what I do as long as I'm given, the opportunity to make, beautiful things for people who appreciate it and are willing to, take the journey with me, because it's not always easy getting to the end, and are willing to, finance it so that we can do it, I'm okay with that. And so far there's been, enough people.
Okay, so Michael, we're gonna walk around.
Okay.
And Jeff, you are...
I'm basically the business manager. I handle the front end. Michael focuses much more on the product activity and production side. I handle more of the front end, the dollars, the estimating, and the sales. So I consider myself the business manager.
Okay.
Michael's hand-on in production every day in the factory, touching, seeing. No piece goes out until he sees it. He knows every detail of every piece that's made here.
So front office, back office
Pretty
in a
much.
funny way?
That's pretty much the way we
Okay.
work. That's why we make a good team.
All right, and so now I'm looking at this monstrosity of a machine, which, is this new when you moved to the Bronx? Or was this, part of these expansion, I would assume, is that it expanded your product line.
So this is a laser cutting machine, and this is our 4th generation machine.
What are we doing here?
We're actually laser cutting a piece of mirror polished stainless steel using a beam of light. So we have 5 or 6 different people who are capable of sending programs. They feed the programs out to the machine.
Okay.
Computer language tells the machine what axis is to cut, and he's basically cutting with a beam of light a piece of stainless steel. And it could be a 4-foot by 12-foot plate if it needs to be, up to 1/2 inch thick. And it can cut anything. It could cut a flower if you want it to look like a flower, as long as we can make it into a computer language.
And so you have dedicated programmers, designers
Yes, we have project managers and programmers who will develop the program, send it out to the computer. He's the operator. We run this about 12 to 14 hours a day, cutting all day. This feeds all the other operations.
So everything starts here.
Almost all metal is cut here.
Okay.
Heavier plates and so forth might be cut on a saw and in other technology we have, but this is really the heart. The cutting of the metal begins here. So we can move on, or this piece is just about done, I think.
I think I know what that is. Ah, that's so sweet. That's great. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
And so this could be something much larger. I'm going to try to just grab these. I don't want to walk.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. Oh my God.
So this is what we cut. It's ice cold. And that was about a minute of cutting.
Amazing. That's beautiful.
We thought you guys would like it.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So that process actually feeds the rest of our processes. At this point, all we have is metal cut. The metal may have to be bent, rolled, welded, polished, ground,
this
assembled.
starts
If let's say, for argument's sake, this was a countertop. So a countertop is going to need sink cut out in it, holes drilled for the faucet. That is all done here in advance, and then it's brought to the next process. So typically that next process, if the job requires it, would be bending. So these 3 breaks are where we bend metal. These guys are taking the metal that's previously been laser cut, and if need be, it is bent. Some jobs will skip this process. There may not be any bending involved in the job.
How did you come up with the name Metalworks?
When I incorporated, I had to come up with 3 names, and it was the first one that I.
It just came to you.
It just came to me.
I mean, it's a very
Kinda says it.
logical. Yeah. I mean, it really states what it is. You know, sometimes you get these, like.
Yeah, I didn't do anything crazy. I mean, they're all,
And the thing is, the company has morphed so much over the years. Like, it's been an evolving thing to get it to where it is today. It's completely different, both in the product side and the technology side.
Yeah.
The product has changed and the technology's changed. It's not really, we have guys who are capable of doing blacksmithing, but what I'm going to show you next is that we've loaded up on technology. Michael's made tremendous investment.
So now, what are we looking at here?
So this whole area is all CNC, computer-driven program machines. They're milling machines, 5-axis and above. This is a brand new machine.
It's a lathe and milling machine combination. It's absolutely state-of-the-art, revolutionary, crazy. It does anything.
So I'm gonna. So this machine grabs all the different tools and dies it needs. It's taking part of the metal off, and it'll drill the holes, it'll shape it, it'll do all from all different axes. There it comes, coming off.
It's safe. And so, you know, we've made things like this, you know, agonizing, and then I said there's got to be a better way. And so, you know, through every machine there's been the better way. And the people. I mean, you know, the machine is one thing, but without the men operating it, it's just a hunk of metal.
I was going to ask you, so you said that you absorbed your dad's folks, and when you moved from Queens here, you took 14, you went from 14 to 40.
Right.
But this strikes me as very skilled labor. I mean, these are
the best of the best.
So you're training folks? Are you finding, but like,
Both.
that's one of the issues we hear a lot. It's hard to get to find the right talent. It's really difficult, and that inhibits your ability to grow.
Absolutely.
And to react. So how do you do that?
We've had lots of guys that came in who want to work, and if they show real promise that they genuinely want to work and have any aptitude, we can teach them. There's a lot of skills that are definitely teachable. There are some things, look, some people are artists and artisans, and you can't teach that. And we've been very lucky to come across different people, and I try never to turn away talent. I mean, if they're really talented, it will make a home for them, and then just get more work. I mean, getting work has been pretty easy because we're at the top of the food chain, and people are clamoring for this stuff.
More Crains in print and online with Crains New York Business, our flagship title, and Crains 5 Boroughs, a new lifestyle magazine and website covering the 5 boroughs of New York City.